Tightly packed into a tiny cockpit, going 200 miles per hour, Formula One drivers have one goal: winning the race. And when it comes to winning, the tiniest obstacle or mistake could cost these race car drivers a glorious victory. In today's video at Get Around How, we answer this strange question in the Formula One universe. What do F1 drivers do when they need to pee during a race? The answer is not what you think. How do they pee during a race? Where do they do it? And how does it not mess up their race performance? To understand this, we need to understand how F1 races work. It all starts with intensity. Intensity is an understatement for F1. These drivers can have cars speeding up to 200 miles per hour, which means race car drivers need a lot of energy to win this insane sport. We're talking mentally and physically. F1 is probably the most challenging racing sport in the world. On the racetrack, F1 cars are built to take the heat. Things could be disastrous if they are built for anything less than that. It is so important for drivers to maintain top speed with the race cars to allow the brakes and tires to heat up. If they fail at this one job, they might just have to forfeit the race. The heat is meant to increase traction between the tires and the track surface, and without traction, the brakes won't work. It's insane, but the brakes of an F1 vehicle are produced from carbon, making anything below 752 degrees Fahrenheit or 400 degrees Celsius a futile attempt. So they can't stop and they can't slow down. An F1 driver would have to be nuts to ever want to be in that position. Not to mention that a race may be discomforting because of additional factors like G-force fluctuations, track heat, and unbearable mental pressure. The intensity doesn't end on the racetrack. F1 races also have financial burdens. The thrill of these races is possible because a lot of money is thrown at Formula One races, from the driver's suits, vehicle maintenance, and technical support to maintaining a crew. Sources say a team can spend up to $145 million for a single season, which doesn't include the possibility of winning the tournament. As of 2018, assembling an F1 Ferrari could cost over 16 million USD. No wonder F1 cars are a big deal, and drivers should really consider these facts before they think about slowing down for a pee break. You would think that with the money involved in this sport, drivers would be trained to hold their pee for hours, but instead, they let the taps run. Aside from the fact that F1 cars aren't built to be comfortable, do you know how much heat drivers must endure? Experts say the temperature of an F1 car can reach 122 degrees Fahrenheit. A little more than that and you'll have a nice softly boiled egg, or fried if you like. But don't sleep on that just yet, because we've only mentioned the cockpit. On top of that, F1 drivers have to wear a Nomex balaclava to protect them from fire outbreaks before putting on their helmets. It uses the same material as the drivers have for their suits, so you know how hot it can be? And there is no doubt that these guys will sweat profusely, which means they'll also lose a lot of body fluids because of the insane heat. And if they don't sweat it out, well, they'll have to pee it out. When you tally up the heat from the tires, the sun, and the fitted race suits, the whole racing thing kind of makes one shudder, or should we say boil. However, some drivers claim they can't pee inside their vehicles even when they try. Believe it or not, Lewis Hamilton claims he has never peed in his race suit, not once.
I go to the toilet, and when I get on the grid, I always have to get out. Just before I have to get back in, I go to the toilet, because otherwise
Hamilton's magic formula is to drink about 4 liters of water before a race and cautiously take a leak before getting in the car. He has confessed, though, that he has thought about nature's call a couple of times before, but somehow couldn't bring himself to pee in the car without losing his concentration. Maybe taking a leak in motion wasn't part of the job description. However, Hamilton reveals that former F1 legend and 7-time world champion Michael Schumacher did it every single time. Schumacher had mastered the art. Aston Martin's Sebastian Vettel claims that he too is one of the only drivers that don't pee in the car. So far, Schumacher remains the only guy we know who does it. Like Hamilton, Vettel tried but couldn't see it through. He also claims to know of drivers that do pee in their cars, although he didn't say who. So how is this heat problem cured if a race lasts about an hour and a half, or at most 2, during which F1 drivers have to endure insane temperatures? To prevent drowsiness and loss of concentration, they need to satisfy their thirst. Are you thinking what we're thinking? And no, they don't drink their own pee. Days before a race, F1 drivers drink tons of water. Because 1, they lose more body fluids than can be replenished during the race, and 2, dehydration problems while driving may mess up their performance. Did you know that F1 drivers lose about 2 kilos in weight during each race? Thankfully, an F1 vehicle also has an inbuilt water system connected to the driver's helmet. The system works electronically to allow water to flow directly into their mouth by pressing a button. So a driver has to drink insane amounts of water before and during the race. But if they pee, it could mess up their career. Do you see the problem? Ultimately, they have two options: hold it or leak it. You've probably heard F1 drivers pee into a catheter released through the exhaust. Well, this is kinda true. But let's examine how the catheter works. One end is guided through your urethra until it gets to your bladder and urine starts flowing, while the other is connected to a bag that holds the urine. It's not that bad an idea when you think about it, but the problem is that inserting a catheter is uncomfortable, and even when the catheter has been inserted, the user will continue to experience discomfort. Taking a chance with the discomfort of a catheter and an F1 vehicle would be frustrating and could mess up performance. So then, how do they do it? They take a leak right there in the car. And guess what? Because of the vehicle's heat, the pee evaporates pretty fast. The only evidence is the odor that engineers have to endure after the race, which, my friend, is the only irk about being an F1 engineer. And if you're thinking, oh, sounds bad, but why can't the drivers wear adult diapers? 'Cause you know, that would be so much better for the guys who clean up the vehicle after the race. But for veteran drivers, wearing diapers beneath the driver's suit can be very uncomfortable. However, some drivers prefer to take their chances. Better safe than sorry. We could never have imagined that a key F1 race car driving skill would be bladder control. So whether or not F1 drivers decide to take a leak in the middle of a race, what matters more is getting to the end of it and finishing in the top spot. There is no greater glory than that. But you know what's even more embarrassing than a grown man wetting himself under pressure? Being one of the world's most famous sports car companies and still getting absolutely destroyed in F1 racing. To find out more, check out our video on why Lamborghini is so bad at Formula 1.